So recently in the last few years, indie games have become really popular when it comes to the number of people playing them, number of people getting exposed to them. And I feel like this is not by choice or by design, but it is a culmination of really precise factors that came into play that basically propelled indie games to meteoric success. If you think about it, the Game of the Year contenders for this year is Silksong and Expedition 33. You can make an argument that Expedition 33 is not indie because it looks so damn freaking fabulous. But I like to argue that games in the upcoming years are going to follow a certain trajectory which is very similar to what indie games are going to follow. If you think about it, first of all, indie games cost really less to make. Thus, the cost price for the consumer as well is also really low. And because the cost price of the consumer is low, if an indie game is successful, and if the masses play a certain indie game, all these mega gaming influencers also push a certain indie game, it is most probably a success story for that particular game. Like, think about it. If you consider a game like Mega Bonk, it came out of nowhere of behemoth games like Borderlands, and yet it was able to stand on its own 2 feet because a lot of influencers online were constantly playing this game and basically telling how good the game was. If you have those early adopters play your game, it's most likely that people are going to listen to these early influencers and adopters and eventually end up buying your game. 10 years ago, indie games were very niche. You could rarely find people praising indie games to the level by which they actually praise games as of right now. If you go out on the street and ask a well-to-do gamer to name like 5 indie games, they'll happily do so. Think about it. Indie games as of right now, they cost less, they are easier to make, they are almost as fun as AAA games, if not more fun in some instances. So people naturally opt for indie games. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter how your game looks, how your game feels. What matters for a game to be a good game is that it's just fun to play. Like, no matter how hard you try to develop characters or make the environment look good, at the end of the day, if your game does not feel right or does not play well or doesn't have that fun element, your game is basically bust. And indie games basically are writing the very story that I just told. At the core of every good indie game is that it's really freaking fun. You have games like Mega Bonk, Escape from Duckov, all these games pulling numbers for a single player game, which multiplayer games sometimes struggle to pull. Like, think about how massive these games are and how amazing indie games are when it comes to like gathering the crowds. And the reason is simple. The game costs less, so a consumer doesn't mind spending a small amount of money to see if a game works for him. And nowadays, like, if a game doesn't work out for you, you can still refund games on Steam. But that initial investment, that initial crunch is much more easier to take and much more easier to get burdened by for a consumer because the games cost so less. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter what the graphical fidelity of your game is, how the raindrops look in the night sky and the reflection. All those things don't mean jack if your game is not fun, if your characters are not fun, if your environment is not fun. Like, yeah, all these do matter, but at the core of everything is fun. Make your games fun and they will sell themselves. There is no secret formula for gaming as of 2025. If you have a good game, doesn't matter the graphical fidelity, doesn't matter how good the game looks, it has to be fun. But the one place where I feel like graphical fidelity will help out and will sort of have a positive impact, at least in my perspective, are horror games. Horror games, when they look good, are amazing. Recently, Kojima with Jordan Peele are like coming together to make like a horror game. I don't know the name of the game specifically. It's called OD for now. It looked pretty cool when it was announced, so I'm actually hyped for that. So my one TLDR for this entire video is do consider playing indie games. They're really fun at the forefront. It costs really less. You're directly supporting game developers when you play indie games, and The options are almost endless. You have, if you're someone who's into roguelike games, Hades is for you. If you're someone who likes Elden Ring and From Software games, I highly recommend you check out Nine Souls. Obviously, Hollow Knight and Silk Song speak for themselves. There are a wide variety of indie games as of right now, and if you're anyone who likes any specific genre of gaming, there is always a genre of gaming in indie games as of right now for you. So do check out indie games. And yeah, that's been about it from my side. See ya.